Greetings, benevolent beings. Today I am going to talk about regressions and maybe a couple other things. But first off, so with regressions, I'm going to start with an example. And then I'll move forward from there. The example would be if one experiences a certain level of spiritual growth, maybe one has an epiphany, or one goes through an experience in where spiritual knowledge is either remembered or learned. And with that comes the accompanied high vibration and frequency emotions, along with the knowledge and the wisdom. And in where that then causes the beings, due to the realizations, causes the being's frequency and vibration to raise. And then, the being is experiencing those high frequency vibration emotions. There's more clarity, there's more understanding about things in general as a result of those realizations. And then, let's say a few days passes, and then you're into the next week, and all of a sudden the being starts experiencing maybe derogatory thoughts and emotions, or negative thoughts and emotions, and doesn't have that uplifted, happy feeling. Maybe there's confusion there. And then that being wonders about their experience that last week. They just had a spiritual, some spiritual growth. They experienced learning, and then from that they experienced more or higher knowledge and wisdom realized from that. And they wondered, well, what's happening? Why do why are they feeling down? Why are they all of a sudden experiencing negative thoughts or emotions, or confusion? Okay, so what that if you've experienced this, what that is. Now I'm going to tell you what I call it. I don't know if there's an official name, but what that is called being put back in the shitter. That is malevolent entities raping, and then trying to force harm and negativity into that being in order to forcibly get them out of that higher frequency and vibration. Number one, to try and then feed off of them. And number two, because they're trying to obstruct humanity's evolution. Now, if you've experienced that, if you extrapolate, that's what they've been doing up until now to humanity on a consistent basis. So it's not the fault of the individual being. They had an experience in where they experienced higher frequency and vibration emotions and unlocked and or attained higher knowledge and wisdom. That equals spiritual growth. That equals the raising of one's frequency and vibration. Those things are not lost. What happens is when they do regressions, what they're trying to do is rape the emotions in order to then try and harm and cause negative thoughts and emotions. And then they're also trying to, as I said, obstruct evolution. So they're trying to get that being out of the higher frequency and vibration. They also rape, just because they're raping the frequency and vibration doesn't mean it's lost. It means like they're raping a copy of it. Because you're the authentic version. And what they do with those, they use them for many different things. Some of it they do store in the AI system, in the artificial frequency fence, for other purposes. One second, let me figure out how to proceed. It is because the beings here don't know what's going on or don't understand what's going on and how this malevolent species operates. And when I say existing here has a lot in common with the movie called Groundhog Day. When I say humanity could have evolved long ago, I am not kidding. If there weren't so much interference, we wouldn't still be doing this. We would be in our evolved states in a higher dimension. And because this civilization is in its evolution climax period, number one, they're trying to use humanity as a host, as an all-you-can-eat buffet. They're also trying to obstruct humanity from evolving, or they're trying to obstruct humanity's evolution, and so we have to remember that the technology that's being forced and used on humanity, much of it is about frequency fuckery. There is an artificial frequency overlay over the organic energetic field. It pumps out lies, cons, and deceit, and it's there to try and sustain the lies, cons, and deceit. They're trying to obstruct benevolent humans from actually receiving the true energies, frequencies, and vibrations from the organic field. Because the organic field is putting out totally opposite frequencies, energies, and vibrations that would be extremely encouraging to beings trying to evolve at this time. So if you are one who is unfortunately specifically targeted with technology, what I'm saying is, if you're personally being tortured by malevolent entities with technology, you are one who most likely has chosen the path of evolution, and you have retained much of your being, if not all of your being, at this point in time, in this time and place, in this civilization, in this timeline. And because they are trying to obstruct all benevolent beings who are holding a high frequency and vibration on this planet are monitored. And so when you have a growth spurt or a series of spiritual growth experiences, they monitor those, and then once you've experienced or had the experience, they'll come in afterwards and try to rape, and then try to force the being back into a lower state, a lower frequency and vibrational state. So it is helpful to remember that if that happens, if you experience something like that, what I mentioned in the beginning of this recording, that that's what is called a forced regression, even though you haven't lost anything. And it's also important to remember that it's frequency fuckery. Okay? They're using frequency weaponry and doing frequency fuckery to try and get you to believe the lies. So when they come, or if you experience something and then you experience the other thing afterwards, and in where if it's challenging to access or pull up the emotions and the knowledge and wisdom learned, in your spiritual growth experience, most likely it's a regression, and they've tried to rape the frequencies and vibrations of the emotions, as well as the frequency and vibrations of the knowledge and the wisdom attained and are remembered, unlocked, to then try and put that being back into a lower state. So it's important to remember those two things, and that when that happens, they're trying to just know right off that they're doing the frequency fuckery to try and force you to believe the lies, right? The lies that somehow you did something wrong, the lies that they raped those and that you lost them, whatever lie, the lie that evolution is harder than what it seems, which it's not. It's not. So there's a lot of lies that are induced when they do regressions. So you have to try and be astute enough to recognize what's happened, to recognize that you haven't lost anything, to recognize that they've tried to rape you, and that to recognize that, you know, there's interference there that doesn't have anything to do with you doing anything wrong. If you experienced high frequency and vibrations, emotions, as well as learned and or unlocked spiritual knowledge and wisdom, you did it right. You did it right. And that's why they're trying to rape you. Because you did it right. And to remember that just because they try and come along and rape, it doesn't mean it's lost. Because you're the authentic version. Okay? So whatever they're trying to rape, it's going to be a copy. Now, it's important to remember that with frequency weaponry, even though it's a copy, they can still fuck with the authentic frequency of it. It is important to remember that. And so, and that requires other action. But your biggest beginning action will be to refuse consent. Basically, and you know, anyone who's listened to this channel should know I say that probably multiple times in every recording, that you refuse consent to being raped of anything. You refuse consent to being raped of anything that you've learned, experienced, felt, seen, like had visions of, that you have refused consent for being harmed, tortured, being accessed, having any part of your being accessed at any time for any reason ever, via any mode in existence. So your first thing is going to be refusing consent. The second thing is you're going to be doing your best to pull back everything that's been raped from you. Devoid of all technologies, forced magic, clones, and malevolence. And make sure you're pulling it back from all, you know, technologies, AI systems, the artificial frequency fence, astral realms, artificial realities, clones, and all malevolence. So be pulling your stuff back and then making sure that you're not believing the lies, cons, and deceit. So because the frequency fuckery, it's a challenge to do that. Because frequency is, just like with any happy emotion, you know, it's a frequency and you're really feeling it. So when they're doing frequency fuckery and they're trying to force a lie, a con, a deceit, your being will know it's a lie, but it will feel, they'll try to make it feel like it's yours via frequency. That's the thing that is going to be the toughest for many, because you like, your brain and your heart knows that they're forcing a lie. However, because of the frequency, whatever frequency they're using, especially if they've attached that frequency or piggybacked it on your own frequencies, on your own emotional body frequencies, right? On your own energetic signature. If they've piggybacked those lies onto your frequencies, that's when, okay, so that's when the work starts. That's when it becomes challenging, and you have to really force yourself to pull up and feel your own emotions as to the truth of things, and to be consciously preventing yourself, obstructing yourself from feeling the frequency of the lie. So it can be challenging, but when they start forcing those, especially if you've had any types of those experiences that I mentioned at the beginning of the recording, your brain and your heart will automatically know that what they're trying to force is a lie. But, you know, it's going to take some work to force out the lie. And to pull up your own emotions that you don't believe the lie. Because they're trying to force lies into your mental body and your emotional body. It definitely, you know, you're going to have to work on it. Hopefully none of you benevolent beings listening ever experience that, but if you do, don't freak out, right? You can do it. Just, you need to make sure that you take some deep breaths. Know that they are going to try and get you, they're really trying to force you to believe the lie. Okay? So you just have to be really strong and be like, it's, you know, I know this is a lie. You're trying to force a lie. I don't believe the lie. And continue to force out, basically, you're releasing the lies, and you're also releasing the entities forcing the lies from the totality of your being, including your emotional body and your mental body, devoid of all harm to you. So I just want to mention, so people, so benevolent beings are aware that that is part of what they do with regressions. So you can better prepare, you know, or better help yourself to quickly extract yourself from their nastiness if they try to force it. Okay. And I think I mentioned it in this one. If you just extrapolate, like if you've ever had that experience, right, being put back in the shitter, if you just, I may have already mentioned it on this recording, I'm sorry if I have, if it's a repeat, but if you just extrapolate, you can now see how they've been forcibly regressing humanity. And however you responded to the forced regression is most likely going to be how others in the civilization and others have responded to forced regressions, and how it is that we're still doing this when we should already be evolved in a higher dimension already. So it's not right what they're doing. Number one, they shouldn't even be here in manifested creation. Number two, that technology is not allowed in this universe. They are not allowed to be here, nor are they allowed to be using that technology, especially to interfere and obstruct universal laws and universal law correction. So the other part of this that I wanted to mention is with regards to the frequency fence. Very high frequency and vibration emotions and thoughts and spiritual growth will deactivate that fence. It'll break it. What they're doing when they do the forced regressions, they're trying to rape and harvest. So they're raping those frequency and vibrations to then keep those from going outside the fence. So they can try and control what's incoming from universal laws and the universe itself. They're trying to control ingoing and outgoing. So in saying that, if you are one who has been taking action, taking steps to move things to universal laws, whether that's moving entities manually, moving knowledge and information manually, or asking questions, right? Working with universal laws in the way of questions, because all three of those is, will produce results, even if they are at this juncture somewhat temporary. But they do have a large impact, and they do produce immediate results normally or usually. So if you are one who's been doing those, taking action and doing those things, I would say one thing that could be done would be to assist would be to ask let's see. The first thing, I'm just going to give a couple of examples, and then you can, if you're doing these things, you can choose. Or make your own, create your own. But we want to be moving everything tortured, raped, and murdered from humanity, from the totality of the artificial frequency fence, all technologies, astral realms, and artificial realities, directly to universal laws, devoid of all technology and forced magic, in clones. Devoid of all harm to you. The other thing would be putting it in the form of a question. You could ask universal laws to locate all torture, raped, and murdered power, will, energy, life force, consciousness, and frequencies raped from benevolent beings, anywhere in existence, including the artificial frequency fence, all technologies, forced magic, clones, artificial realities, astral realms. Along with the knowledge of all of the entities that raped those. So correction can be done. Okay? That way, because because of what the planetary parasite has been doing with what's been raped from humanity, and because they're trying to control incoming and outgoing, we want to make sure that things raped from us that are being stored in the artificial frequency fence and technologies can still make it to universal laws. So we have to be doing that manually, since they're interfering and obstructing. And to help us more quickly trigger universal laws, the enforcement of universal laws in this place, it is extremely important on a regular basis to be moving things raped from humanity, from the totality of the artificial frequency fence, and as I said, all clones, all technologies, AI systems, astral realms, artificial realities, directly to universal laws for immediate correction. And then along with all the knowledge of all the entities that raped those things. So I realize I just repeated, but I'm really trying to make sure that particular aspect is understood and brought through clearly. That's really, I think, the more of us that are doing that on a regular, consistent basis, we stand a better chance of triggering universal laws, because since they've been obstructing a lot of what they've raped, like, we could have already been out of here with all the spiritual growth that humanity has experienced, that they've raped and tried to keep from leaving this planet, leaving, from going outside the frequency fence. We need those things to get to universal laws all the way, so that universal laws has a truthful picture of what is occurring here, of how much spiritual growth has been experienced by humanity, and the entities that have been raping that. So yeah, they shouldn't be here, and they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. So we're going to have to try and, at least until a larger benevolent force intervenes here, we're going to have to do our best to help ourselves and do things ourselves. I have no problem standing in front of the Creator and justifying my actions. None. Absolutely fucking none. So, I don't know how you all feel about it. You'll have to, sit with that and figure that out, how you're going to feel about it. But we need to get universal laws triggered in this place. That frequency fence must be deactivated and destroyed. They've spent a very long time, over many timelines and civilizations, trying to trap souls. They're hacking into beings with frequency weaponry, right? They're using technology to obstruct universal laws and correction. So I would say, at this point, it's imperative that if you are able to assist in manually moving things to universal laws, whether it's via questions, via knowledge and information, or via moving the entities themselves, right? However, we got to get it fucking done, right? So, if you are one who assists, maybe sit and figure out which, if any of those are going to would be comfortable for you to try and do, so we can try and make a bigger impact and try and see some kind of a benevolent change that's permanent, right? The other quick thing, or the other thing I just quickly wanted to touch on is at this time, they are in at their current stage in their shit show. One of the things that they're trying to do is possess. Now, hopefully none listening to this have had to or have been forced to experience that. I think what I will say about it is it's important to, first off, refuse consent. And then remember that as long as you have refused consent, they can't actually take it. Like, for example, if you are one who is specifically being targeted, and if you've been refusing consent, right? They're trying to rape things from you. The thing is, are they still attached to you 24/7, right? If you still have entities fucking attached to you 24/7, they didn't get anything. What they're doing is frequency fuckery, trying to force you to believe the lie, the cons, the deceit, right? They don't have anything because they're still attached, trying to do frequency fuckery. So as long as they're doing the 24/7 frequency fuckery thing, they don't have anything. They might have made a copy of something that they tried to rape from you. Okay, but they didn't, it's still yours. You have to know that, right? I mean, it's important to actually know that and believe that, especially when they start doing their fuckery. They're, as we know, they're obstructing universal law and universal law correction. Universal laws is very real. It's a very large, powerful force. The problem is they're using technology and lies, cons, and deceit to try and evade and obstruct universal laws. In the presence of universal laws, they would all be eviscerated. They would burn where they stand. That's why we have to get that fucking fence. Shut the fuck off. We have to get universal laws triggered in here. So however it is that we got to fucking do that is how we got to do that. So I'm just saying, I hope that there are those listening that are strong enough. Benevolent beings are the only ones I'm speaking to, that are listening, that are strong enough to be trying to assist and taking action where you can and when you can. It's very important for your own being as well. I mean, for everyone, for all benevolent beings here. So, and it's just, especially, it's just always important to remember it's frequency fuckery. They're going to try to make it seem real very real. They're used in frequency. So you know it's a lie, but it's the frequency of it that's hard or challenging to run over. And that's what it comes down to. You have to run over their shit. You have to bulldoze it, whack it in the head, run it over. However, whatever you gotta do to get that shit out of your way. Get all the lies, cons, and deceit out of the way. It's a lie, deal with it, right? Deal with it immediately, run it over, keep going. Recognize it's a lie, pull up your own emotions with regards to the truth of things, and be making your emotions of the truth of things override the lie frequency. It can be challenging, but it can be done. It's what I call running it over. You got to run their shit over. Just got to bulldoze it, run it over, whatever you got to do. Refuse consent, force it out. Move their lies, cons, and deceit, and all the entities forcing those against the revocation of your consent directly to universal laws. Right? Whatever you got to do to run their shit over. If you got to ask it in question form, if you have to move it like you would an entity, or if you got to move knowledge and information, like sometimes you have to do a workaround. Ask it in question form, or move the knowledge and information of all the entities forcing, using technology to force lies, cons, and deceit onto your being against the revocation of your consent directly to universal laws, to be immediately removed from the totality of your being, and they're devoid of anything raped from you and devoid of all harm to you. You can also collapse their frequencies. So you could say all that and then you're moving those to universal laws, moving the harm, right? Moving the forced lies, cons, and deceit, and all the entities forcing those directly to universal laws, devoid of anything raped from you, so that all of those entities and their frequencies can be immediately collapsed. Devoid of anything raped from you, devoid of all harm to you. So, sometimes you have to get a little creative. I realize that there are beings who have never worked with universal laws or worked with moving things to universal laws or any of that. I realize that there are beings that haven't really don't have any experience with that. So hopefully over these last few recordings, hopefully those benevolent beings, if they've had questions or don't have any experience, hopefully I was able to show, bring more light to it. And make those things more understandable. So anyways, okay, well, I didn't want to make this too long, but I did want to talk about regressions and the things that are important to remember with that. And do your best to stay strong. And I hope that you're finding tools that are helping you to stay strong and helping you to block any kind of harm that might be being forced on you. And just remember to know yourselves well. Know that you are a powerful being and that you can do things. You do have abilities. You can do things. That's one of the reasons they try to rape. If you got entities trying to rape your stuff, right, it's because you're a powerful being. It's because you're a powerful manifester. It's because you have abilities. So just know that it should be you. It needs to be you using your abilities. It's your stuff. You need to be using your stuff. It's not for a malevolent dead whore to be using your stuff. So, we need to be pulling our stuff back from them because they're dead. They're dead and they fucked up. They fucked up a long time ago. They're dead. They're parasites. So, no. They shouldn't, and all the stuff that they're trying to use, the fear, the harm, the trauma, and the pain is all theirs. Anything else that they're trying to use isn't theirs. It's not theirs. Whatever else they're trying to use, aside from forced trauma, pain, harm, and fear, like, just know that they've spent a lot of time raping. So what I'm saying is, if they're coming at you like they're like a real being or some kind of an entity, no, parasites don't have egos and parasites don't have identities. They sure don't. They're dead. Okay. So they're just not understanding that they're dead and they don't have those things. What they do have is a lot of fear, trauma, pain, and harm. And that goes back, they're parasites. That goes back long time ago. That's their stuff. And they try to spend all their time forcing it on the living. That's not how that works. That's not how that works at all. So they must be corrected. And they also must be moved to their right place, which is non-existence. They don't belong here. Okay, so I apologize. I was going to end this a few minutes ago. I'll go ahead and wrap this up. Stay strong, and do the best that you can. I know that you all are working on it and trying to do the best that you can, and be patient with yourselves. Have love for yourself and forgiveness for yourself. And know that none of, everything that's being forced on you, it's got nothing to do with what you did in the 5th grade. Right? It's got nothing to do with what you did in high school or as a young adult. It's got nothing to do with anything you perceive to be transgressions. Or biblically would be called, some call them sins. What's occurring here has nothing to do with your past. It doesn't have anything to do with any of that. They've been doing this a long time. They've had this planet turned into a farm for a long time. Right? So what's occurring, you can, if you had any kind of confidence issues with regards to possible transgressions, it's got nothing to do with any of that. It's got nothing to do with your past. Nothing. They turned this planet into a farm a long time ago. They're just trying to use your past stuff against you. They're trying to use any kind of any feelings that you have about your past stuff to try and get you to submit. That's what they're using your past for. But it doesn't have any bearing on what's being forced at all. It's not why there are nasty entities forcing nastiness on you. It's not because of your past, is what I'm saying. They're just using that to try and get you to submit, is what that is. So just know that. Okay. So until next time, do the best that you can.